How rough is that?
Yeah, pretty bad.
Looking at 2 minutes and 9 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I didn't realize it was that late.
Yeah, it was.
And then they scored again to make it look serviceable. But in actuality, 41-7 is kind of what I count that game as.
Basically.
UNC loses to Boston College. UNC didn't show up against Boston College. When you're down 17-0, the only thing you're doing is looking for a spark. Something to get your team going, because obviously you haven't shown up. You get the 95-yard kick return. You look up spark in the dictionary. It says any kick return over 90 yards. You get it? Doesn't change anything at all. UNC didn't show up against Boston College, and that points squarely to the coaches and the veteran leaders on that team. Somebody didn't get you ready. Mentally, emotionally, somebody didn't get you ready. And it's frustrating to me because after the 3-game run that they went on, right? They had a 4-game losing streak, then a 3-game winning streak. Granted, not against the best competition, but neither was Boston College. They won the 3 straight, and I came on this show and praised Mack Brown and the coaching staff. Said he still has his fastball and motivation. Look at that. The team was on the brink of giving up, and I don't see how you wouldn't be with that 4-game losing streak and the JMU loss and the Duke loss mixed in there. They had some really rough games. But Mack Brown motivated them, kept them locked in, started giving the ball to Omari and Hampton more, and they won 3 straight. After all that praise, saying he was able to keep them locked in, that was the most not locked in I've seen that team in a very long time. Mack Brown asked after the game how surprised he was by the blowout loss.
I'm really surprised. We'll have some positive guys that played really well. That's what you do. I remember one time we got beaten a game, and I said we quit. And Coach Royal called me on the way home and said, you can't ever say your team quit, because some of them played hard and some of them played great, and there's too many that play to say your team quit. So I thought they played hard. They kept trying. I thought they were frustrated some. They were disappointed some, but I didn't think they tried hard.
BC was not a better team. I watched them from a physical ability and execution standpoint. I don't think they're a better team. They just played way better. And that may sound like I don't know, jibber jabber, like just complete nonsense. Anyone that's ever played sports knows what that's like. They're not better than us. They played better than us.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't even want to say that post-game because you sound like you're sorry apples or something like that. But it's true in this one. They're not better than you. They just played better than you. And it was dramatic, and it was obvious, and it was a difference of a million miles. There's not a team in sports that should be more inclined to start games completely locked in than UNC. Do you know why? Because when you get ahead, you can lean on what you do best. And when you fall behind, you have to depend on what you don't do very well. UNC, if they get ahead early or it's close early, boom, Omari and Hampton. Running game, offensive line, firing out of their stance, moving bodies, defense gets to pin their ears back, and a pass rush that at times has not been very good, but has been when they've gotten the leads in recent games, gets to pin their ears back and go get after the quarterback. Now, if you fall behind early like they did against Boston College, you're inclined to put the ball into the hands of Jacoby Criswell in the passing game, which is fine when the defense is selling out to stop the run, but when they know it's a passing down, they struggle in the passing game a little bit. Not ideal. Bunch of interceptions in this one. And on the other side, right now, the Kamen Ruckers and the guys who you want to have their ears pushed or pinned back rushing the passer now have to be a little bit more conservative. They have to worry about stopping the run. It's not an obvious passing down, and they're more likely to give up a bunch of points, which they did. And then you get, shout out to my fans of the movie The Replacements, you get your quicksand. One bad thing happens, another bad thing, you struggle, you try harder, which Mack Brown was talking about, is they didn't stop trying. Now, the issue is there's no 14, 15, 24-point play out there, and the harder you try to make it all up in one, the more likely you are to throw the pick six that breaks your back. You're more likely you are to miss the tackle because you're trying to force the fumble. The more likely you are to make the mistake that leads to the nail in the coffin, and there were plenty of them.
Before you know it, you're in over your head.
Before you know it, you're in over your head. Shout out to Shane Falco. Omarion Hampton with 11 carries. That's borderline negligence. That's like malpractice. But once you get down by a bunch, it is tempting to sling it all over the place and say, let's get a couple first downs, then hit him with Omarion. And if you don't get those first downs, you never get to the then, right? Let's get this drive moving. Let's pick up a chunk play. Then get them running once they're tired and they can't sub. And I'm going like, Omarion Hampton's never a bad idea. First down, second down, third down. 11 carries, malpractice. Even if you looked at last week when you gave him 40 touches or last game when you gave him 40 touches and you went, little high, got a little carried away. Let's rein it in. Rein it into 30 touches. Don't rein it into 11 carries. By the way, he still averaged roughly 5 yards per carry. I've never seen this guy be anything less than efficient. I don't see. Actually, we'll go with this. 5.9, I believe, was the yards per completion, or yards per attempt, I should say. That's passing. Yards per attempt rushing for Omarion Hampton, 4.8. You're not giving up a ton by running the ball. If you need to come back and pick up chunk yardage, there's nothing wrong with doing so through the run. We've actually seen a couple teams do it. We've seen Georgia Tech do it a few times over the last couple years. We saw Duke do it against UNC earlier this year, where you fall behind and instead of saying, let's sling it around, let's pick it up quick, you say, you know what, let's make sure we put our best foot forward on every drive, even if that's running the ball. As long as we get points and stops, it doesn't matter. That was a really, really rough game for North Carolina. That was a really, really rough look for the coaching staff of North Carolina. They had the opportunity to backdoor an 8-win season. And then even further backdoor, depending on the bowl game, a 9-win season. You beat Boston College, which is not crazy, right? They've already benched their quarterback. They're in a transition, new coach, trying to implement new things. They're not anything to write home about. You beat Boston College, and you have a rivalry game. We all know craziness that can happen there. Then a bowl game, you could have backdoored an 8 or 9-win season. Instead, it feels like you took 3 steps forward during that 3-game win streak and like 6 steps back against Boston College. That's a tough one to answer. It's a really tough one to answer.